Hello, Ferguson world. This is Craig Robert Ferguson, and I am back from Melissa's place in Werribee. I'm back in Bayswater. The kids are back, and here we are. We keep rolling on in isolation. And I think, as I've said to you before, the kids are coping with all of that very well. And Melissa's daughter, Alexandra, is going well. She's down in the hospital at Geelong. And she was going to be coming home today, but she might just have a little infection. So they've taken some bloods today, and they're going to do some little tests and just make sure that she is A-OK, and then she'll come home and yibbity-yibbita. Grandma is coping very well. How are you coping with the lockdown? Interesting times. I think the government will probably start to relax some of their rules soon, which very dicey, because they're saying, well, the curve has flattened. Well, yes, of course it's bloody flattened, because everybody's stuck at home. The virus transmits through human contact or close airborne transmission. And if everybody is at home and not interacting, well, yes, of course the curve is going to flatten. But because the curve flattens doesn't mean the virus is just, like Don would say, Donny, it's just going to disappear. Everything will be fine. No, the virus is still out there. And as soon as we start coming back together again, well, you don't need to be Einstein to figure out. So it's very difficult. I get it. You want to get society going again because you want the economy to start. I get all the reasons why. As I said to you in my message the other day, domestic violence is up now over 40%. That's an issue. So, there are lots of things with our current way of living that are causing grief, but it's just not going to be. I just wonder what that noise was. It's not going to be easy. Now, for me, I have, what have I got to tell you? I'm going to ring the skin specialist tomorrow and see if I can start my treatment this week for my blotchy, terrible skin from sun damage over the years. What that involves, and you can rest assured it will be front and centre on here and Facebook. It involves me going into the clinic, them covering my face with cream for 1 hour. Then I have 20 minutes of laser, and then I come home. Then my face is going to blow up like a pumpkin. No comments. And I'll be bright red in the face, and I've got to put lotions and whatever on and take antibiotics so I don't get infections. And then just slowly, I look very bad apparently for 1 week, and then it slowly gets better. And then I will have skin like a baby's bum. That's the plan. So, but I'm just not quite sure with everything that's going on at the moment with my corona, whether they're actually treating. Friday, I have my appointment with the voice doctor, the surgeon, and the speech therapist, so that'll be interesting. And sound like I'm packing up, don't I? But anyway, that's that. Melissa is coping well with being a granny, and yes, all is good. So, something of interest to show you today. I thought I would And I've just remembered I was going to have a different microphone every day, whereas I'm just back with my Electra Voice. Beautiful studio. These were purposely built for radio broadcasting. So if you go anywhere in the United States or the UK, you will see these in all of the studios. And but in Australia, they go for the Sennheiser, which I'll show you another day, because the Sennheiser microphones are about $400. They're a black, sort of longer microphone. And whereas these Electra Voice microphones are $1,100. So you don't need to be Einstein to figure out why. Here in Australia, they go for the Sennheiser. But beautiful microphone, made for radio broadcasting. And they're also made so you can work right up close to them. Yibbity yibbida. So, what have I got? Something of interest to show you today. I wanted to talk to you about my friend, George Casey. Now, I met George back in 2011, I think. How bad is that I don't know? George was a 4-star general with the US Army, and he was the chief of the US Army. So he was the head of the largest organisation in the world, which is the US military. And I met him, it's actually too big a story to go into, really. But anyway, most of you will know that I had or still do have a consultancy in leadership development. I brought George out from the United States to speak at a conference that I ran every year because I saw him in a press conference when he was sent to Iraq, when things were really bad in the Iraq War, and President Bush sent George in to take control because things weren't going very well for the US at that time. And then he was in Iraq for 3 years as the commanding general of coalition forces. Then George Bush brought him back to America, where he spent 6 years as the chief of the US Army. Wonderful man. And then what George came to Australia to speak at this conference, and that I got into trouble from Kevin Rudd for contacting him and inviting him to Australia, because he's an international diplomat and on the top 10 hit list for Al-Qaeda. And good old Craigie Ferguson in Bayswater contacted the general, brought him to Australia, and it created an almighty amount of shit with the government. And I got a phone call from Kevin Rudd's chief of staff saying that I wasn't allowed to do it. And but, of course, I took no notice and just continued on. Anyway, after that, George and I then put our heads together and we created the 4-star strategic leadership program, which is, see that? So I wrote the program and George and I taught it, and it was for chief executive officers of organisations. So we ran that 4 times here and in New South Wales. And so I just thought I would show you something. So this is a book called The 4th Star, and it's a book that talks about 4 of the USA's top generals, and George is one of them. So in this book, bit hard to show you, but there's George up there. That's George W. Bush and Donald Rumsfeld that he's briefing. And then down there he is in his combat gear in Iraq when he was the boss in Iraq. There he is down the bottom. That's General David Petraeus clapping because George was handing over command in Iraq to David Petraeus. You will remember David Petraeus, who got into trouble and got the sack because he had an affair with a female reporter. And yes. So anyway, that's a book. And then the thing that I really wanted to show you was when he came out to Australia the second time, he was coming out and while he was here was my birthday. And he gave me a very precious gift. And that gift is he gave me his 4-star beret. How do you like that? Doesn't it suit me beautifully? I'm quite sure that's not the way you wear. Anyway, but from his formal uniform, which I actually can't show you a photo of him here, but anyway, there's photos on the internet of him wearing this. And he gave this to me as a gift. How awesome is that? And I can tell you now, this would be worth a fortune if you were to sell it on the internet. Not that I would do that, because it's too precious. But, yeah, so there we have it. The General's 4-star formal beret. General George William Casey Jr. His father, actually, let me just show you. That's his father there, George Casey Sr. He was a 2-star general, but he got his helicopter got shot down in Vietnam and he got killed when George was only a little boy. So there you have it. Just some useless information for the day. So anyway, I can hear the washing machine has stopped and Emily is making movements out there. I can hear that as well. And I need to go to Coles and do some shopping. So that's all for now. No quiz today. I am going to send you a song later. Have a listen to that. It's the sort of song that we need to have going on in our minds at the moment. And I'll catch you soon. So in the meantime, keep smiling and bye for now.